Hey guys, welcome back to the Perspective channel. If you're new here, my name is Claudia. I'm a real estate agent and a mortgage broker here in Atlanta. I release video every week where I share my perspective on a range of topics from real estate to personal finance and business. In today's video, I will teach you guys how to calculate cash flow on a multi-unit property. So let's go right in. So one thing as an investor, people need to understand, it's like when you come to investing into real estate, it's totally different when you buy your personal property. The difference is when you come to as an investment, you're not particularly attached to the property as far as like your emotional attachment. So as an investor, basically what you're looking for, you make sure that the property gonna cash flow. That means you're gonna get money on your investment. And I can tell you, I've worked with a lot of investors that are from out of town. And to be honest with you, very seldom that they'll travel to Atlanta and see the property. The way I normally work with them, especially those that I've worked with over the years, I'll see a property and I'll kind of run the numbers based on, because I know what they're looking for. And I'll send it to them if they feel like, okay, that is a good fit. And they'll tell me, say, okay, just check it out. I'll go there. I'll pretty much do a video of the property. And while I'm there, we'll actually do like a video call and I walk through and they kind of see it and asking questions, all that stuff. So once again, because they're investors, it's not an emotional thing. They just want to make sure the property is in pretty good shape before they make a decision. But prior to that, the first thing they do is to run the numbers to make sure if it makes financial sense to them. So in this video, basically, I'm going to show you guys using a real example how to calculate cash flow. For me, I have a 1% rule that I use because there's a lot of listings in the MLS. I can look at a property and kind of determine based on my 1% rule if it makes sense for me to even waste my time to investigate. So this particular property I'm going to go over with you guys. So I'm going to use two separate examples and show you how that 1% rule actually apply. So this property was listed in the MLS. It was like a duplex. Each side got a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And it was listed for $300,000. And each side was renting for $1,200 each. So that means the rental income was $2,400. So just me looking at that alone, I'm like, okay, this property is overpriced. Why? Applying the 1% rule, right? So if the rent is $2,400 and the property is selling for $300,000, it's overpriced because the property should be selling for at least $240,000 based on the 1% rule. So if you're gonna buy this property as is, of course you can make improvement and kind of increase the rent. But once again, we're not making an emotional decision, we're making a financial decision. So I don't want you to get into the habit that you fall in love with the property, that you're gonna play with the numbers and try to make it work in your favor. The numbers are what they are. Numbers don't lie. So if you do your research and the $1,200 showing that is the current rent for the area, so that's the numbers that we're gonna go with. So basically, we're gonna go over the numbers, we're gonna calculate, and I will show you guys based on that 1% scenario, how this thing makes sense. So that can save you guys a lot of time, especially as a new investor when you're looking at analyzing a lot of properties. You don't have time to run numbers on every single property. That takes a lot of time. So you can kind of take a quick look and make a determination just based on the rent that they're charging and what they're asking for. So in terms of cash flow, the cash flow, basically what that is, it's your income minus your expenses, give you your cash flow. So what are some of the expenses that you're going to encounter when it comes to rental property? So the first thing you're going to have as your expense is going to be a mortgage. In terms of your mortgage, that comprised of 4 separate parts. You have your principal, you have your interest, you have your taxes, and you have insurance. But since this is an investing property, so you're going to put 20% down. So therefore, we're not going to factor in your PMI. So in addition to your mortgage, you're going to have maintenance. Yes, maintenance, because guess what? Things are going to break. So you want to factor that cost into your calculation. It can be like a new apartment, a new building, whatever it is. But at the same time, if you have that reserve set up in case something happens, or when something does happen, you have the money in reserve. Another expense you're going to have depends. There's utilities you may choose to pay or not to pay. So it all depends. So you have water, you have electricity, you have gas, you have trash collection, you have landscaping. If you're out of state, or even if you're in state, if you don't have the time to manage your property, then you have your property management fee. Depends where the property is located. You may have your HOA fees on top of that. So all those are fees that you have to factor in when you make your calculation. Then in addition to that, like I said, you have your insurance. Then you have CapEx for when you're doing any kind of improvement to the property. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to go over all these expenses, and we're going to assign the numbers to them. And you're going to see at the end, once we analyze everything, you can make a determination if that property makes sense. So once again, keep in mind my 1% rule is $300,000, and the rent collected is going to be $2,400 a month. The first thing, because it's an investing property, you're going to put 20% down. So 20% of $300,000, that's $60,000. So now you're going to have a mortgage of $240,000. Let's say you got an interest rate at 4%. So $240,000, 4% interest rate, 30 years. So you're looking at a mortgage payment. When I mean the mortgage, basically just your principal and interest gonna be about $1,145.80. So that's gonna be your mortgage. So now we're gonna break down each expense that I mentioned. So because it's an investing property, guess what? You gotta factor in for vacancy. At some point, the unit gonna become vacant. You don't want to get yourself in a situation where a unit stay vacant, then you don't have money to kind of carry the cost. You still got to pay the mortgage. So what I definitely suggest you doing, like when you collect your rent, 5% of your rent, put into your vacancy. At any given moment, like when the lease is up, somebody going to move out, and it may take you like a month, 2 months, 3 months to find a tenant. But if you save some money in reserve, so that can kind of give you some kind of cushion as far as not for you to go too deep into your pocket to pay that mortgage. So we're going to say 5%. So 5% of $2,400 is about $120. So we're going to see your taxes. So that's actually, I got that from the MLS. So taxes from this property are going to be about $2,000 a year. You're going to take that $2,000, you're going to divide it by 12, and your monthly payment going to be $166.67. Your insurance going to be about the same $2,000. You're going to divide it by 12. You'll have $166.67. So most landlords not going to pay your water bill. So they're not going to pay your electricity. So it depends. We're not going to count water, electricity, and gas. So the tenant going to take care of that. But another expense that you're going to have probably is landscaping. So let's say you spend about $100 a month just to keep the common area, looking nice. So that's $100 for landscape. So now in another cost, you're going to have basically management fee. If you're out of town, or even if you're in town and you don't have the time to kind of manage the property and deal with the headache that come with it. So a property management may charge you 8 to 10%. We're going to go at 10%. So basically 10% of your $2,400, that's $240. So another expense you're going to have is maintenance. Things are going to break down. So another thing you want to keep in account, 5% of your rent, you're going to use it for maintenance. So that's going to be another $120 that you're going to put to the side. Then in addition to that, you have CapEx. At some point you want to do some renovation, you want to do all that other stuff. So the reason I kind of use the maintenance account, the vacancy, and the CapEx, because these things will happen. It's just a matter of when. So what you want to do now, you don't want to focus on just collecting money. It's a business. So you want to make sure you have some reserve in place whenever these things do happen, that you can kind of respond to them financially. You don't want to be in a position where you're collecting money and spending money and you have no reserves. Something happened, then guess what? You have to borrow the money, go into debt, and use credit cards. So if you have that kind of cash sitting there, that kind of gives some kind of peace of mind in case something does happen, that you can take care of it. So now we're going to add all your expenses. So we already know what your income is. So you're collecting $2,400 a month into rent. So now we're going to add all the expenses that we just listed. So the total expenses is going to be about $1,033.33. So now we're going to do a calculation. We're going to calculate how much cash flow you're actually getting from the property. So we're going to take your income, which is the rent, $2,400, minus your expenses, which is $1,033.33, minus your mortgage, which is $1,145.80. So that gives you a monthly cash flow of $220.87. Is that a good amount? It depends. That's up to you. So we're not going to stop there. So your monthly cash flow is that. So yearly now, we're going to see how much that's going to give us for the year. So we're going to take your monthly cash flow, that $220.87 times 12, going to give you $2,650.44. So that's your yearly cash flow. So now, what is your cash on cash return? Basically what that is, it's how much you invested, how much are you earning, and what is the percentage of that? Does it make sense? So we're going to take your annual cash flow, which is $2,650.44, divided by your initial investment of $60,000. So basically that gives you an annual return on your investment of 4.42%. Is that a good investment? Is that a good return? It's your call. So now you can see now, so based on these numbers, can you get 4% someplace else? You probably can. But you got to think about it. You invested like $60,000 and you get like just 4% return on your investment. For a lot of investors that I work with, they want at least 8%. So like I said, that my 1% will basically kind of prove itself. Just looking at the numbers initially before doing the calculation, it does not make any sense. So 4.4% return on your money, you could get that money someplace else. You can even get in the stock market or in other investment vehicles out there. So that's going to be a personal decision once you run your number. The reason I kind of emphasize that 1%, that kind of saves you time, especially as a new investor. Like I said initially, instead of you run the numbers of every single property, which that can be a good thing so you can get comfortable with it. But at the same time, depends if you don't have time, you can see something, take a look at it, look how much the rent is, and see if it's 1%, then you can say like yay or nay, make that decision. Just keep in mind, guys, investment, it's not an emotional decision. If the numbers don't work, you got to walk away. It does not matter how nice the property look, how well you think you can do with it in the future, but we're looking at the property as it stands right now in its current state. Definitely, there are things that you can do to improve the property, therefore increasing the rent. That's down the line. But as you're buying it, because that's when you make your money. You make money when you buy the property. Okay? So be smart, just follow these rules, and you'll definitely be a successful investor. So I'm going to cover now, looking at this from a different perspective now. Instead of $1,200, we're going to say now each unit is renting for $1,500. And you will see the difference in the numbers. So the second example, we're going to assume now this unit is currently renting for $1,500 a piece. So now instead of $2,400, we have $3,000. So let's go into the numbers and compare. So now the 1% rule, 3,000, 300,000, 1%. So let's see how that works. Okay. So the same thing, 20% down. So that gives you $60,000 as your down payment, right? So your mortgage is going to be pretty much the same as it was the last time. So your mortgage is going to be $1,145.80. So because now your income is higher, so therefore the reserve is going to be a bit higher. So instead of 5% of 24, it's going to be 5% of $3,000. So let's run down the numbers. So the first thing we said going to be your principal and interest. We already said that's going to be $1,145.80. Your insurance is going to be the same. So $2,000 divided by 12, we get $166.67. For your insurance, the same thing, $166.67. We're going to look into your vacancy now. So vacancy going to be $150. So that's $3,000 that you're collecting times the 5% that I suggested earlier. So that's your vacancy. The next one going to be your landscaping, still going to be $100 a month. So now your property management going to be $300, 10% of that $3,000 you're collecting. So your maintenance going to be $150, 5% of $3,000. Your CapEx going to be $150 as well. So now we're going to calculate the expenses. So we're going to add everything up to see what the expense is going to total to. So if you add all your expenses, you're going to have a monthly expense of $1,183 33. So now we're going to calculate our cash flow. Like I said before, cash flow going to be your income minus your expenses. So your income is $3,000. Your first expense is going to be your mortgage, which is your principal and interest. And that amount is $1,145.80. You're going to minus your expenses, which is $1,183.33. So now you have a cash flow now of $670.87. So that's a big difference from the previous one. So you see now how the 1% rules work. You see the big difference between $1,200 and $1,500. So now the last one, your cash on cash return was 4.42%, I believe. In this one, now we're going to see what a cash on cash return is. So you're going to take your monthly cash flow times 12. So that's going to give you a yearly cash flow of $8,050.44. So now you're going to take that amount, you're going to divide it by $60,000 that you invested, and your return on investment in this particular one is 13.42%. So that's like almost a 10% difference. So from 4.2 to 13.42%. So now you can see how you can use the 1% rule to kind of glance at a property and make a quick decision as far as like whether you move forward or not. So I hope you guys find this video helpful. If you do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Once again, if you guys have any questions, you can leave everything down below. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.